Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of August 3rd, 2025. You're invited to join me at the Revolution Rising Summit. It's a free day online astrology for the Zeitgeist event from August 8th through August 10th. Myself and 19 other astrologers are going to be talking in a roundtable formats about what we see coming up over the next several years, opportunities to watch and learn about practical astrological techniques, explore self-care wisdom, and connect with a community of astrology enthusiasts. You can sign up at the link in the show notes. My transits class for Kepler College begins September 15th. This is a 5-week class intended for people who have a strong foundation in being able to delineate a natal chart and want to take their skills to the next level with transits, eclipses, and other techniques. Now, this class tends to sell out, so if you know you want to take it, I would recommend not waiting until the last minute and just signing up. Next, let's take a look back at some astrology in action. We had a new moon at 2 degrees of Leo that was opposite Pluto in Aquarius on July 24th. The Leo-Aquarius axis I like to think about as the creator Leo and the audience Aquarius. Leo energy is centered around emotions around authenticity, visibility, and pride. It's where we can show our talents. And there's this tension between us shining our light and how it's going to impact the larger social groups or systems. Aquarius energy is more detached from the passionate Leo energy. And Aquarius is a sign of extremes. We can find the rebel here who feels like they must break free from convention, as well as the humanitarian who is so focused on making sure there is equity and fairness amongst social groups. This axis brings up themes of fame versus anonymity. Can you imagine how much the CEO of the company and his HR lady wished they could go back to anonymity after being caught on the kiss cam at the Coldplay concert in an affair? You can think about your personal power versus people power. How much are you performing for others rather than participating as one of the group? And there were several stories that related to this new moon, and Pluto can bring up really uncomfortable topics, taboo topics. A big thing we've been talking about a lot is the Epstein list. He was a purveyor of the flesh who brought the wealthy and well-connected to his island to indulge their every fantasy. And Ghislaine Maxwell, I thought she was going to get a pardon last week. Well, she didn't get a pardon, but what happened was she was interviewed by the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, for like 9 hours and was given limited immunity by the U.S. Justice Department. I fully believe there is some kind of quid per quo, tit for tat arrangement that was made between them. We'll see what happens next. She's testifying on the day Mercury goes direct on August 11th in front of a congressional committee. So notice who she implicates versus who she does not. And the meeting with the Deputy Attorney General took place on the new moon. So new moons initiate new starts. And for her, she's got this new potential opportunity to cut her sentence in prison short. Another thing that happened was South Park came back and they just skewered the president. It was an Emperor Has No Clothes type episode where he literally had no clothes. And I'd recommend you read up about it, but it was very new moon in Leo, being the president is a Leonic type figure who acts like he thinks he's a king. Leo rules royalty, and Pluto can humble and humiliate. And it was no holds barred. So you can read up about it and think about the Pluto words that come to you when you read about all the different things they did in the episode. I'd predicted that there would be big stories related to Israel because the opposition with Pluto was exact and they were both at 2 degrees, and Israel's moon is at 4 degrees of Leo in the public 10th house. Israeli citizens have been protesting against the war since April, but there was a huge anti-war rally in Tel Aviv on the day of the new moon, where thousands of Israelis, including bereaved families, reservists, and protest groups, gathered demanding an immediate end to the Gaza war and the release of hostages. Many people feel the war is just political and want Netanyahu to resign. So the group of protesters represent Pluto in Aquarius, putting pressure on the sun in Leo. The sun rules the leader. France recognized Palestine as a state, and Canada is soon to follow. So there are more and more countries that have big influence, putting pressure on the Netanyahu government. In response to the collective pressure of various groups of people, Israel's government has resumed some humanitarian airdrops, opened a corridor for aid vehicles, restored power to the salination plant, and instituted some humanitarian pauses in the war. So the work of the collective groups putting pressure on the Israeli government has had an outcome. And that's what we see with this opposition. Pluto in Aquarius, Pluto is stronger. The group coming together has power that's stronger than the Leonic type leader. Lastly, E! News was canceled after 35 years on the air. And so it's the end of an era. And it's a perfect timing because Pluto obscures and dims the Leonic, where it's opposed, light. And Leo is the celebrity, the star. And people are losing interest in the antics and the extravagances and the lifestyles of celebrities. The Birthdate Company makes amazing products, and I am a proud affiliate. I especially love the Birthdate book. It's a fully personalized, beautiful, and unique reading of your birth chart with over 70 pages of detailed horoscope analysis. It is such high quality. I absolutely love it. They also make amazing birth date candles. You can get it for yourself or as a gift for someone else. So check out the store and use my coupon code Celeste 10 for a 10% discount. Go to bit.ly/3PW3NFM. You can find that in the link in the show notes. Enjoy. The theme of this week is the Justice League, and there are three big things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first thing I want to make you aware of is that we have a kite chart pattern forming in the sky, where we'll have an air grand trine. So that will bring a planet in each of the air signs of Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Air signs are humane. They deal with the intellect, mental process, communication, and interactions between human beings. So you can think about social awareness, objectivity, innovation, thought. And trines remove all restrictions. So what this will do is allow people to come up with some brilliant conceptual frameworks, and there can be a lot of quick thinking, quick talking, network building. Now, when a person has an air grand trine in their charts, they can be unbelievable, amazing communicators that can just blow your mind with how they are able to express their ideas on the high road. And on the low road, it is someone who just has verbal diarrhea, where they just talk nonstop and don't really say anything. And a kite chart pattern is when you have a grand trine, and the planets in the grand trine will be of the same element, and two of those planets will sextile another planet or group of planets. And so since we have an air trine, air signs sextile fire signs. And so air alone can be detached and cerebral. And with trines, with grand trines, you can get kind of stuck in loops. And when you have the kite grounds the planets in the trine and gives them energy to lift up and take flight. So with an air grand trine that has the fire tail, this can give you the fire, brings passion and the spark to move ideas into actions, because passion can ignite the intellect. The confidence, courage that fire brings can fuel ideas and help you to get other people to want to join in, and leadership can be awakened. One of the planets in the grand trine will oppose the fire planets. So there's this oppositional energy that can help someone take a stand or express boldly to the audience or take initiative. So with the trines, just are a talent. It's just something that you do naturally, where things flow easily. And the sextiles show a supportive energy that gives an opportunity for growth when there is effort put in. And then there's that opposition, which is tension and contrast. And if you're confused, you can draw this out on a piece of paper to help you see it conceptually. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Mars will enter the sign of Libra from August 6th through September 22nd. Libra is cardinal initiating air. And so Mars is going to move from that 29th degree of Virgo, mutable Earth, and 29 degrees is a degree of crisis and decay. And with Virgo, I feel like your files are completely organized. You've got every single piece of the puzzle together, and you're ready to take it to court and file your lawsuit with 0 degrees of Libra. Libra wants balance, justice, harmony. These are the things that Libra is interested in. Its shadow energies can be indecisive, people-pleasing, or playing both sides, two-faced energy. Libra can also be so focused on the superficial, on how things look, rather than what's really at the heart of things or the meat of a subject. And Mars energy is so important. It gets us out of bed, but it's a malefic. It is here to energize, but it also severs and separates. It is in exile in Libra, which is the sign of its detriment. It's a very uncomfortable place. Venus rules Libra, which wants to bring things together, to connect and to partner. That's what Libra wants to do, is have one-on-one partnerships where there is fairness and balance. But you bring Mars in here, which wants to compete, and it is a mismatch of energy. So Mars brings conflict. And the image I get for this change is someone is cooking on the stove with potentially like some hot oil, and they're not really paying close attention. And they could set like their ponytail on fire, or some grease could pop out of a pan and burn their face. And that would be the Mars at 29 degrees of Virgo. They have like a thing that impacts their physical, Virgo's Earth, physical body. And then they run and look in a mirror and they have a red mark on their face where the oil burned, or their hair is all singed, and they can see it in the mirror. Libra has to do with how things look. Or you're walking down the street and you see a beautiful person, because people who have strong Libra energy can often be very attractive, put together, and then they have like some kind of burn or scar on their face. That would be the Mars energy. Or an artist who is controversial, whose work makes a statement about war and conflict. A war photographer is a Mars and Libra type person. I'm thinking about Sebastian Junger. He's been embedded with the military and war zones, and he is an amazing writer. He used to be a correspondent for Vanity Fair magazine. And there's going to be big news as Mars enters Libra. 0 degrees of the cardinal signs are world points. So there's going to be something that gets a lot of attention. It's likely involved with something about diplomacy, a Libra topic where there is a breakdown or a threat about do this or else. I know President Trump is really pressuring Netanyahu as well as Putin to bring their wars to an end because he wants a Nobel Peace Prize. Or there could be big news about a lawsuit or an executive order. I think there's going to be something in the legal or political sphere on this time. And so as soon as Mars moves into the sign of Libra, what happens is it forms a grand trine in air. So Mars in Libra is trining Uranus in Gemini. There can be sudden upheaval, something around children. And then Pluto in Aquarius, something about a group of individuals doing something taboo. I wonder if one of Jeffrey Epstein's or any of the people involved in, or even Donald Trump, comes forward in front of the cameras to talk about what happened to them when they were a young person. That's the air grand trine. And then Mars is opposite Saturn and Neptune in Aries, which is fire, They both make a sextile to Uranus on one side and Pluto on the other. So if you're an astrology student, draw that out on a piece of paper and think about how that air, it can be grounded in the fire. This is bringing in a Mars-Saturn opposition, which is really intense energy for conflict. Aries rules the self. Libra is partnerships. The movie Kramer versus Kramer is a great movie to watch. At the time, and still, it's considered very taboo for a woman to leave her child and husband and just go off on her own. And this is a movie with Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman. And Dustin Hoffman had to be the dad, and he was so out of his element. And oh, it's such a wonderful movie if you haven't seen it. So powerful. And that's on the personal level. A Few Good Men is on more of the collective level, where we're dealing with the military Mars and soldiers Aries. The military is really Aries, war is Mars. So those are two movies you can think about that I think both encompass this energy that we're seeing. I wonder if there'll be any announcements during the time Mars is in Libra about pornography, sex, Mars, and Libra rules things like art. So yeah, Mars and Libra. I wonder if there'll be something. Project 2025, one of their goals is to outlaw porn. So we'll see if there are any announcements about that. But there is a big likelihood of conflict pretty soon after Mars enters the sign of Libra, pretty immediately, because all of the planets are at 2 degrees or less in the Kite. So it's a very tight configuration where something is announced really quickly. And there's this big surprise Uranus conflict that comes up, or that we're made privy to. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that we'll have a full moon at 16 degrees of Aquarius on Saturday, August 9th. Aquarius is fixed air. It's the rational mind. It's higher ordered thinking is how I think about Aquarius, where people with Mercury in Aquarius can be so brilliant and strong Aquarius energy and come up with really amazing, innovative ideas. Aquarians often are like they're from the future, and almost like aliens here on Earth. Sometimes it can feel like, because their thinking is such a higher order than the average person. This energy can be very original, and it can be on one extreme rebellious, the other extremely humanitarian. Often Aquarians are sociable, and when an Aquarius rising particularly asks you a question, it's like they really want to know the answer. They're not just making small talk, is something that I sense. Now, this energy can also be somewhat detached. People with strong Aquarius energy in some way felt like an exile at some point in their life, likely in their childhood, whether they were different from their siblings or their family. These are the people who joke about the parents brought the wrong child home from the hospital, or in school, they're very different than everyone else, or church or something, where they feel like a black sheep or an outsider in some way. This full moon was seeded 18 months ago, where the moon phase family began with a new moon at 20 degrees of Aquarius on February 9th, 2024, when the sun and the moon were both in Aquarius. Aquarius rules aviation, groups, organizations, the collective. So check your journal or notes and see if something was seeded around that time in your life, especially if you have planets around 20 degrees. The first quarter moon, 9 months after that, was November 8th or 9th, depending where you live, 2024, where the sun in Scorpio and the moon was in Aquarius, both at 17 degrees. So if you had this brilliant idea with the new moon in Aquarius, maybe at the first quarter moon, you looked at your strategy and there needed to be an adjustment. First quarter moons are times of course correction. And now here's the full moon where all is illuminated with the sun in Leo and the moon in Aquarius on August 9th, 2025, both at 16 degrees. Maybe you're ready to present your ideas in front of someone and get feedback. The last quarter moon of this cycle will be 9 months from now, where the sun is in Taurus and the moon is in Aquarius, both at 19 degrees on May 9th, 2026. And maybe you monetize something that was conceived back at this new moon in 2024. The sun at 16 Leo corresponds with the Six of Wands tarot card, which is a card of victory and feeling good about your accomplishments. The Sabian symbol is a volunteer church choir makes a social event of a rehearsal. This brings to mind whistle while you work. Can you find the joy in what you're doing and let go of some of the worry about how other people will receive it? I wonder if a whistleblower will have something to say this week. The moon at 16 Aquarius tarot card is the Six of Swords, and it's a card of transition where there are people in a boat and they're moving from one situation to another, and there's a sense of loss on what they're leaving, but they're going somewhere better in the future. The Sabian symbol is a watchdog standing guard, protecting his master and his possessions. And this gives themes of protection from intruders. When we brought these two together, I really thought about the relationship with the US and Israel and how Donald Trump has said he might bomb Iran again, which is very concerning. He said this offhandedly, and a lot of people, especially MAGAs, who really liked that he said he was anti-war, are very mad that he bombed Iran in the first place. There's going to be a big story in the US because Mars will have moved to 1 degree Libra conjunct the midheaven, which represents the president in the United States natal chart, and Saturn and Neptune are opposite it. So there is some big conflict between the leader and potentially the opposition party or rebels, or something's big. I got the impression of, is there going to be one of these ice raids at some kind of place of worship that is going to cause outrage and spur people into protesting in the streets? Another reason this is a big thing for Israel is Saturn of Israel is at 16 Leo. So this full moon is across the Saturn of Israel. Saturn rules hardship, boundaries. Saturn pressurizes and brings consequences and karma. So there's some big themes, and I feel like there's some big themes about what's going on with our two countries. And Mercury is slowing down to station direct on the 11th. So there can be news coming out, whistleblowers talking about things that have gone on behind the scenes. Yeah, this is an intense full moon. And I can just see you're at a party and someone who's the Leonic type person starts really revving up, being dramatic, taking things to a level that they don't really need to be in a performative way in front of an audience. And yeah, get away from them. Group dynamics where a group gangs up on a few people could be something we're seeing at the full moon. But for ourselves psychologically, this is where you can really think about, how do I shine my light? And am I stopping myself or performing? How am I adjusting how I express my creativity based on the perception, the fear, or the desire for attention from the audience? If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is sideshow. We start the week with the Sagittarius moon. The Sagittarius moon is fiery and feisty. It can be optimistic and fun, but shadow energy can be reckless and lawless. And the Sag moon, as soon as it moves into Sag, it starts opposing Uranus. It moved in yesterday, and on this morning it opposes Uranus. Uranus can bring upheaval. People take things too far, and sideshows are when people gather with their cars and drag race and act. It's just so dangerous, and they spin donuts and all of this stuff, and that's the energy I got for this day. On Monday, the word of the day is educate. Sagittarius also rules higher education and philosophy. Sagittarius people could often be like, have that preacher archetype energy where it's someone standing on a box telling you about the way things are. And on this day, the Sag moon squares the nodes, both at 18 degrees. The north node's in Pisces, a sign of compassion, spirituality, also deception and illusions. The south node is in, and the south node's a drain, and north node's an amplifier, and the south node's in Virgo, which is the details and the facts. This can be someone where you feel yourself really getting going, and a choice between bringing in all of the nitty-gritty details when you're talking with someone might not be the best way to get your point across. It might be better just to paint a Piscean picture so that they can feel into this energy about what knowledge you're trying to impart. And I'm getting the walk by faith, not by sight. I think there may be something about universities that put professors or students at a crossroads in some way. There could be some Trump administration new rule. On Tuesday, the word of the day is bureaucracy. We have a gibbous moon at 28 degrees of Sag. The gibbous moon happens 3.5 days before the full moon. Where the moon looks full in the sky, it's pregnant with possibilities. It's a time where it's like just bursting with energy, and it's a light phase of the moon. So people are really reacting with each other. And it's at that 28th degree. It's almost the end of the sign. So, people can be feeling very my way or the highway. I get this energy in the Sag moon, where people are standing on their philosophies or principles. It squares Mars at 29 Virgo. So Moon square Mars. This is someone with steam coming out of their ears because they're trying to get help with something. And because of the government being hundreds of thousands of government employees being laid off, there's no one to answer their questions. There's no one to answer the phone. The website's not helpful. Like someone could really lose their mind with frustration, especially if they're trying to get health benefits or their Social Security or things like that. And then the Capricorn moon begins at 10:03 a.m. Pacific time, where you decide, you just put down the phone. I'm going to that government building and getting someone to help me. Capricorn rules governments and big business. It's a sign of long-range planning, legacy, goal setting, hard work. And as soon as the moon goes into Capricorn, it starts squaring Saturn and Neptune in Aries. You get to the government building and Saturn, the door is locked. You can't get in. And Neptune, you just start crying. And the moon is opposite Venus. And you feel like there's no help or blessing right there because of the bureaucracy. And maybe you decide to get involved in your local government because you're so upset about this situation. Maybe it's about a pothole on your street or something like that, that someone's tire got destroyed or things like that, and you really want to take action. And on Wednesday, the word of the day is petition, and I was getting that song, the Harper Valley PTA, in my mind, where my mama socked it too, the Harper Valley PTA. Barbara Eden was in this movie. It's such a great movie, and she plays a single mother back in the 70s, and it's really good about how she's like the Aquarius person going up against this group who's trying to keep her out in some ways or cause her shame. They're like this Pluto and Aquarius energy is really in that movie. And the Capricorn moon opposes Jupiter at 12 degrees. So this can be like you're reaching out for help or legal help. And this is the day Mars enters Libra at 4:23 p.m. Pacific time. And I wrote, be careful not to burn your hair with the curling iron. Or you may like notice you got a pimple all of a sudden on your face when Mars enters Libra. Mars rules problems. Libra, you can think about beauty and the visage. Libra rules the kidneys. Yeah, so notice what news we hear on this day and Thursday and see how Mars in Libra shows up. I gave some examples earlier. On Thursday, the word of the day is contentious. The sun in Leo is in a semi-square with Mars in Libra. Semi-squares they're softer, but they're hard energy. There are a minor aspect, but the energy is tense. Try not to fight with your spouse. Mars and Libra can be a fight with the spouse about little things. And the moon will square Chiron because someone could get their feelings hurt. The Aquarius moon starts at 6:17 p.m. Pacific time. This could be a time where you decide to call a friend. Aquarius rules friends, groups, and organizations. And then the moon meets Pluto at 2 degrees of Aquarius. So this can be where a group of people are suffering. Pluto can be a catastrophe or power struggle or becoming aware of some kind of taboo type issue. We'll see what comes up. And Friday, the word of the day is skirmish. This is the day Mars and Libra trines Uranus and Gemini, both at 1 degree. Trines remove all restrictions, Mars trine Uranus can be fun, fabulous energy, but it also can be a sudden battle. This could be like a rap battle. This could be a lot of fun. But then Mars opposes Saturn, and Saturn's retrograde at 1 degree. This is not fun. Mars opposite Saturn is really intense, combative energy where people are on opposite sides, and Mars is the gas, Saturn is the brake. You may feel like someone's stopping you from what you want to do, and you may have something to say about it where you're like, the curse words are flying. On Saturday, the word of the day is misfire. Burning Down the House was a song playing in my mind, and I was thinking of the House of Representatives. So maybe it's on Friday. There's something in the Congress where someone's grandstanding and they're told to sit down and be quiet. They could be the Mars and Libra trying to make this big legal point, and the chair of the committee says, sit down or something. We have the full moon at 16 degrees of Aquarius. So there's going to be full exposure on that Leo Aquarius axis of someone trying to take action for the self, and they come up against a group. So notice how you see that show up, and it's misfire is the word because Mars is opposite Neptune retrograde at 1 degree of Aries. So Mars opposite Neptune, I get like someone can't shoot straight. Neptune and Aries, I get like a naval vessel is Neptune and Aries kind of thing. And then the Pisces moon happens at 11:49 p.m. Pacific time. Pisces is mutable water. There's confusion. And I wrote down, thank goodness you dodged that bullet. And it could be like, oh, you're getting ready to do something that would be counterproductive. And hopefully you're thinking, uh-oh, it's Mercury retrograde. Let me not do that because, there's a bigger potential for something to go amiss, for there to be conflicts and disagreements. I don't want to do that. I'm going to sit down, button my lip, think this through, and journal before I take this action. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.